There's an interesting phenomenon going on in the raiding scene. I've mentioned it before, but it only seems to be getting much, much worse, to the point of actual insanity and pointlessness, something that I hope people are going to chill out on in future, but I know will not happen because this is FF14. We have much bigger problems to worry about, but good God, are some people persistent about being annoying as fuck. I am, of course, from the title, talking about passporting. If you enjoy this video, please be sure to rate it, comment on it, and subscribe. If you hate the video, do the same. You can also follow my socials, join my Patreon, or come watch me stream some games now that the clown is finally dead. Or yell at me in my Discord where I always check things. My eye is on you all. Anyway, going through Kefka Ultimate has been a very grueling ordeal in Party Finder. The fight is super fun, but also very tough. Phase 4 in particular is a very tough memory check that heavily encourages the use of echo macros. Even if someone in the party is doing callouts, you will probably be hitting your own macros too, to help remember different debuffs, though I'm already going on a tangent. It's a fight that people have seemed to be progging a lot slower than previous ultimates. Filling parties was a struggle more often than through was. I do not know if it's just the difficulty of the fight, or if the topic of today is partially at fault too. There's a decent chance it's involved, but let's start with the story of how my prog went. Week 1, I felt like I was making steady progress. Week 4 clear was assured. Week 2, I was making it into Phase 3, and then spent an entire week on Limit Cut prog. The number of pulls I got that made it to Limit Cut was 0. No, that's not a hyperbole. I got absolutely 0 pulls of Limit Cut for an entire week. I had mistakes here or there, sure, but I would say at least 90% of those pulls I had did not wipe due to me. That's being generous too, since I have no way to get a real count without considerable effort. I went into Thursday of week 2 at Limit Cut, and made no prog until Wednesday or Thursday of the next week. How did I break through? I started to prog lie. Hard. I was joining black hole parties, the mechanic that comes after Limit Cut. I can also confirm I was not the only person who was prog skipping in those parties, because people had some very obvious questions that were even answered in the raid plans. Black hole parties not seeing black hole because we're all just lying about which mechanic we're on. The only players probably actually who knew the mechanic was healers, because Bowels of Agony is not a mechanic for anyone but healers after they introduced the tank LB strat, which is why I never saw Limit Cut. We kept dying to mitigation prog. I can't do anything about that. I can only say, look guys, the MIT sheet says to use this, this, and this. And also, shield healer shields are expected. Please heal. Then spend the next hour wiping to Forsaken. So my emphasis on focusing on the mechanic does nothing. This is where things went off the rails. Is what I would say if things had not already gone so far off the rails in Phase 2. People were measuring progress of the mechanic based on number of towers. Tell me what tower we are resolving just from this clip. If you guess that these are all the same tower, despite me being in entirely different spots, then congrats. Forsaken has only one real checkpoint you can measure, and that's Tower 4. In the current strat, everyone swaps roles after Tower 3, then another swap after Tower 7 for the final tower. But given the final tower is essentially the end of the mechanic, calling that another checkpoint is pointless. Yet, I saw people going for Tower 2 and beyond, 3 and beyond, 4 and beyond, 5 and beyond, 6 and beyond, and 7 to Trines. None of these mean anything. Whether you are Group A or Group B at the start is random. Which spot within Group A you are is random. Like sure, it's nice to know you can survive multiple towers, but there's huge diminishing returns. Once you get past Tower 3, you've seen the entire mechanic. You learn how to count the 3, do a swap, and everything from that point on is the same as having done Towers 1, 2, and 3. Yet most all parties were measuring prog and passports on tower count, sometimes boss HP percent. That's another false equivalence, because while progging a mechanic as intense as Forsaken, most people are going to have awful damage. In prog, partying for the kill was very smart and normal. You would pop a potion at one of the 2 burst windows, making the check extremely easy. After getting to a clear position, you either pot the start of the phase, potting filler attacks, or not at all. You still kill the phase by miles in any decent group. You need to hit about 30% at highest when Forsaken is over. That's even after you stop potting the phase. You can do a hell of a lot of damage in that final burst window. But again, when you're learning, your damage is shit. Yet people will measure by percentage, which tells you nothing about a specific player's performance. That's the next problem of nobody actually knows how to properly read progress. That player maybe learned fast and already has their rotation locked in. Maybe they were why the damage was so low. You don't know when just looking at an enemy HP bar. I have video proof of me hitting Phase 5 Forsaken with no personal mistakes, but I wiped at 33%, so a checker is going to see that and say, "That's not 20%, you can't join my party." As far as anyone who understands the fight would see, they would see we had a dead right before Forsaken and went into back-to-back-to-back raid-wide hits with only 7 players, leading us to die to damage. This info is actually available to anyone checking passports. They just won't. They will look at the actual percentage given, and then just stop thinking. It goes in reverse too. People will check a percentage, see it's what is wanted, then be happy. When if you actually looked at what the passport said, they and 4 other people died, and the last 3 people limped across the finish line with just pushing damage before autos took them out. In a way, it's legalized prog skipping. You can fuck up a mechanic as much as you want, so long as your party limps along without you. No matter how much you ruin things, it's okay. You got carried, and now you have a free pass to continue to be carried until you learn the mechanic properly, or get to Phase 5 and still not know how to look north for Black Hole. You know, options. You need to prog skip if you want to progress, but you're also being heavily scrutinized based on HP of the boss and not actual progress. If you get lucky and get one pull that sees prog, you're finally allowed an easy, legal prog skip to actually get prog on the mechanic you need to learn. If you do it right, you might even get to practice the next mechanic. But then you might get into a loop. You get to the next mechanic, but nobody can make it there, because everyone is still learning the previous mechanic, even long after you've perfected your understanding. So for me, I wanted to see Limit Cut. My parties kept wiping before Limit Cut, for a week. So I joined a Black Hole party to practice Limit Cut. Okay, now I'm ready for Black Hole. I join a Black Hole party. It's a Limit Cut party. I join a Stomps party to learn Black Hole. I'm ready for Stomps. I need to join a Clear party to learn Stomps. Though, you don't really need to learn Stomps. I am Clear ready. I need to join a Phase 4 group to get a Clear. I need to learn Phase 4, so I joined Phase 4 Clear parties. You see the problem? No, but really, do you see it? This is such a problem. It's not just it being a hard fight, it's people having clear inexperience with the mechanic before the listed prog point, because we're all prog-lying. You have to learn how to prog-lie to get real progress. But then there's those people who really shouldn't be prog-lying at all, because they are incredibly inconsistent and need to practice the mechanic more before moving on. There are people who can study well and prog skip just fine. I really try not to, because I have no confidence, even when it's a mechanic I consider to be beneath me. Looking at you, Black Hole. I want practice. I don't want to hold people back while I work through the elements of the fight that I can't get via just studying. Actually performing my rotation while solving the mechanics. Especially because I will beat myself up so hard anytime I do have a mistake. But there's probably far more people who shouldn't be skipping at all, who absolutely will be holding everyone else back by a ton, who don't see themselves as the problem, ever, who will also likely be hosting parties that do not understand how to properly passport check. Everyone loses, except for maybe the few who are capable of skipping, finding others who can also skip, and making super fast prog leaps. This all on top of filling parties is hell. What might be the hardest healing in the game by a long shot during what is already a super hard fight on top of this being full uptime and completely different to all previous ultimates. It's to the point that this fight is heavily thought to be designed with evolved jobs already in mind. Then you get to finally go in, and people make mistakes because nobody is perfect. You can perform perfectly 100 pulls in a row, but then the next pull, you wipe the party multiple wipes into the instance, being the straw that broke the camel's back, and the leader deciding to disband. I actually had it during my clear push. I got into some mental block for Phase 4 after having dozens of Phase 4 wipes that weren't my fault over the 2 weeks I was going for the clear. The block hits, now I'm the problem, disband. It's also a dick move to disband a party that is doing well, just because you're done, by the way. If the other 7 people want to continue, why be a dick just because you're out of time? I've had a multi-Phase 5 pull group get taken out like that. It's stupid. Through this, I've not mentioned something pretty important. How are people checking progress? This is where we get into passporting and Tombstone. I've mentioned Tombstone before and how I was not having a happy time with it. I'm having even less of a good time with it. People will look at things at face value alone and not the deeper picture. It forces everyone else to conform to the meta in hopes of stronger prog. Even being the host doesn't change things. People can see your name and look at it and see your prog point and not join. Anyone who joins you could have a clean pull if you check them, but you can't spend forever checking all of their prog to determine if they are consistent. And I don't want to host a party of my own because I'll be waiting so long where a party is already mostly full and I can get into the fight sooner if I join that. And also disband sooner. So, oops on me, I guess. Last time I mentioned Tombstone, I mentioned them making a change. I think that change is just being allowed to toggle the prog window thing on and off, which as far as this current era of rating just says, I have no passport, I am admitting to lying. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about it at all, raising awareness of it existing and all, but like, I want it gone. I do not feel there has been any sort of positive improvement in Party Finder with it existing. I'm going to say it is even worse now. People do not use it right, and it just puts arbitrary restrictions on everyone who is actually capable. Like I said, I'm sure the few people who can read and get those lucky good parties to get early prog get a ton out of it. But it's a rich get richer sort of scenario. Prog lying hasn't gone away or been reduced. If anything, it's gotten worse. It's just layer after layer of bull that I am just tired of. Let's go back to good old kick the people who keep making mistakes parties. I get that Party Finder will always be Party Finder, but while I remain in a state of not wanting to join a static, I don't want to be forced to join one, especially when I hear about how many statics were also having a horrible time in this fight. So many people I know quit their groups. This all is basically me venting about my struggles with prog at the end of the day. The frustrations of raiding for 6 hours to 4 AM in the morning and making maybe 2 or 3 mistakes the whole time, despite it being clear groups, despite it being duty complete checked even. In the end, please prog lie responsibly. If you can't keep up, stop lying. If you agree with me, hit the like button and leave a comment down below. If you disagree with me and hate me for this opinion, still leave a comment. Engagement is very helpful. I remain just one guy trying to play a video game and enjoy it. Check out my socials and streams, or simply join the Discord. Thank you for watching, and may the power of an Nidhogg's lay waste to your enemies.